In the heart of a quiet barrio, there are stories that send shivers down your spine. One of the most chilling is about a man who, against all odds, crossed paths with a strange and dangerous being, Labandera, who hides a dark secret. People whispered about her strange habits, the way she never seemed to age, and how she always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. Little did the man know, his curiosity would lead him into a terrifying encounter with something far more sinister than he could ever imagine. This isn't just a tale of an ordinary aswang, this is the story of how an unsuspecting villager unwittingly became the target of one of the most terrifying creatures in Filipino folklore. The line between reality and superstition becomes dangerously thin as he tries to uncover the truth. What started as a simple curiosity about the mysterious labandera soon spirals into a nightmare that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about these ancient creatures. But will he survive, or will the darkness that lurks in the barrio finally claim him? Stay tuned for the shocking twists ahead. The man, named Ramon, had always heard the stories about the aswangs that supposedly roamed the area. They were the kind of tales shared by elders in hushed voices at night, meant to scare children into behaving. But Ramon was no child, and he had always dismissed these stories as mere superstition. That was, until he moved to the barrio to escape the chaos of city life, and found himself curious about the strange woman who worked as the barrio's laundry woman. Her name was Lola, but everyone called her Aling Lora. She was quiet, unassuming, and worked tirelessly day and night, yet there was something odd about the way she seemed to always know when someone needed her. Locals avoided her after dark, and no one dared ask questions. Ramon, however, couldn't help but feel drawn to her mystery. He wanted to know more, to understand why the once vibrant barrio had become so fearful of her presence. One evening, Ramon decided to follow her. What he witnessed that night would change everything, but he couldn't yet fathom the horror awaiting him. Ramon followed Aling Lora through the dense, darkened path that led out of the barrio. He kept his distance, trying to remain unnoticed as she walked slowly, as if she knew someone was behind her. The only sound was the distant croak of frogs and the rustling of leaves underfoot. As they reached the edge of the forest, Ramon could see her stop at a small, secluded shack, hidden beneath the overgrowth. It wasn't on any map, and no one spoke of it, but it was there, quiet, eerie, and full of secrets. He crouched behind a large tree, trying to stay hidden, his heart racing. Aling Lora entered the shack without a sound. It was then that Ramon noticed something even stranger. The lights flickered inside, but no one had entered the shack with her. His curiosity got the better of him, and he couldn't resist creeping closer. Peering through the cracks in the wooden walls, Ramon saw Aling Lora standing in the center of the room, her back to him. Suddenly, her body seemed to shift, her form twisting unnaturally, as though she was no longer entirely human. The air grew thick, and the sounds of the forest seemed to vanish, replaced by chilling, unnatural silence. Ramon froze in fear. What had he just witnessed? His doubts about the old stories vanished in an instant. Something dark was unfolding right before his eyes, and he was in way too deep to back out now. Ramon's heart pounded in his chest as he watched Aling Lora's transformation. Her skin stretched unnaturally, and her eyes glowed with an eerie, otherworldly light. He wanted to run, to escape the horror he was witnessing, but his body refused to move. The air grew colder, and a foul stench filled the air, as if the very earth around him was suffocating. Suddenly, Aling Laura turned her head, as if sensing his presence. Her gaze locked onto him, and for a moment, the world seemed to freeze. Her lips curled into a twisted smile, revealing sharp, glistening teeth. Without a word, she stepped towards the door of the shack, her movements unnatural and too fast for human. Ramon's pulse quickened and panic set in. He turned to flee but stumbled, falling into the thick brush. The sound of Aling Laura's footsteps echoed in the silence, growing louder. He scrambled to his feet, but it was too late, she was already behind him. Just as Ramon thought he was done for, a shadow lunged at him from behind, knocking him to the ground. But it wasn't Aling Laura. The figure that had attacked him was another man, his face obscured Eli's dark hood. Ramon struggled beneath him, gasping for breath. "You should have stayed away," the stranger whispered coldly. The voice sounded familiar, but Ramon couldn't place it in panic. He fought to push the man off, but his strength was fading fast. The hooded figure grabbed Ramon's arm and pulled him toward a hidden entrance in the ground, an old, forgotten well that led deeper into the earth. Ramon tried to scream, but his voice caught in his throat as the world spun around him. Suddenly, a light flared up from the depths of the well, casting eerie shadows on the surrounding trees. The stranger smiled darkly, revealing something even more unsettling. His eyes glowed, just like Aling Laura's. Ramon's heart raced as the hooded figure dragged him closer to the well. He was running out of time, out of options. His mind raced to make sense of everything. Aling Laura, the strange behavior, the glowing eyes, it was all connected. But what was this man's role in it all? Was he another Aswang, or something worse? Just as the stranger was about to throw him into the well, a voice pierced the night air. "Let him go." Aling Laura's voice rang out, but it was different now, no longer sweet or calm. It was laced with power. The hooded man froze for a moment, looking back toward the shadows where she stood. Ramon took his chance, breaking free from his captor's grasp and scrambling to his feet. "What do you want from me?" Ramon shouted, his voice raw with fear and confusion. Aling Laura stepped forward, her eyes glowing fiercely. But instead of attacking, she smiled. "It's not you we wanted," she said softly. "You were just in the way." Ramon's confusion deepened as the stranger removed his hood, revealing a face he recognized, someone from the barrio, someone he thought was long gone. "But you died years ago," Ramon whispered, his blood running cold. The man grinned. "I never really died, Ramon. Neither of us did." Ramon's knees buckled as the full weight of the revelation hit him. The man before him, who he had always believed was a long-lost relative, had somehow returned from the dead. Aling Laura stepped forward, her presence commanding. "The Aswangs don't just feed on flesh," she explained, her voice now carrying chilling calm. "They feed on the souls of those who wander too close. And you, Ramon, you were always curious." The truth unraveled in the dark shadows of the barrio. These weren't just ordinary Aswangs. Aling Laura and the man before him had never been human. They were part of an ancient, unholy pack, cursed to live in the shadows, feeding off the life force of anyone foolish enough to discover them. They were protectors of a hidden power, and Ramon had unknowingly stumbled into it. The barrio, with its eerie quiet and ancient stories, was nothing more than cover, a place to draw in the unwitting. With a final glance at Ramon, Aling Laura and the stranger disappeared into the night, leaving him alone in the dark. But as Ramon stood there, gasping for air, he felt a strange pull, an undeniable shift within himself. He wasn't sure what was coming next, but he knew one thing: he would never look at the barrio, or its stories, the same way again.